Call the meeting.
Call the meeting, thank you. Call the meeting to order for November 16th, 2022 at 6:32. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Larry Schissel. Gunter Hubert.
Barry Connell.
Don Shagan.
Ken Dennis.
Linda Dennis?
Thank you. All right, let's look at the agenda. Agenda review. Anything needs to be added or adjusted?
I'd like to make a couple of comments on the materials that, one thing that
You want to
that you
add
sent
that?
out.
You want to add that to the?
Is it part of
Agenda.
anything that's on the agenda, Linda?
No,
Okay, then what would you like to add?
just a couple of comments, that's it.
All right, you want to do that under new business?
Well, as far as agenda though, PJ Lovely has, I heard through the grapevine that he may be here to,
Okay, good. Talk.
although it could be in the 7 to 7:30 range.
Okay.
Oh,
And I think it would be good if he is here, given what I've been reading.
Then he looked great.
Okay.
Yeah. And Linda, we'll put you first, Linda.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you want to wait till he comes?
Or do you want to wait till PJ?
No.
Okay.
No, and
You
then,
could answer questions.
All right.
All right,
Anything else on the agenda review?
make a motion. Oh, no,
Don't need to.
sorry. I was telling you, now you get that.
It's okay. But you see, it
We
says
would
call
jump
to
it.
order after Pledge of Allegiance on mine, so. But I like your way better. All right, better flow. All right, let's look at the minutes for October 2022. I did read through them. Any changes, omissions, things that need to be adjusted?
It's just a minor thing, but on page 2, report on Lionel Shute, I'd just like it to reflect may attend the wetlands delineation, and it's not, there hasn't been one set for, I was told, but I just as soon as say.
Okay, so
may
instead of
attend
will, it will be may.
And spring of 20, maybe change it to spring of 2022.
23.
Rather, yeah. Because they haven't scheduled it, I
Okay.
don't want
Okay,
this
good.
to reflect that undoubtedly I'll be there.
Written in stone.
Maura, you got that?
okay,
Okay. Anything else? If not, I'll take a motion to accept.
One other thing, I
Oh.
guess, under draft warrant article, a definitive amount will be established, 14 to 16,000. I'm not sure if we want that in the minutes exactly that way. I think we threw out some numbers, but I'm not
Yeah, we
sure.
threw up 12.
Yeah, and I don't know, just for anybody who goes back through the records,
Mhm.
we may want to just change that in some way, not to
So just, how
establish
about
that we
just
have
erase it?
established.
Just
How about
scratch
taking
the
out
numbers?
Just the numbers.
Numbers.
Get rid of the numbers.
a definitive amount will be established, and just get
Yeah,
rid of the
first
numbers.
purchase.
I think
Yeah.
that would.
Yeah, good.
work best.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you, Larry.
Okay.
All right, anything else? I'll call for a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. All right, let's see.
As amended.
As amended, thank you. We'll go to new business. Linda?
yeah.
Ready for your comment.
Christina, thank you for
Yes.
sending all that information.
Of course.
But and the rest of the commission, on the conservation land stewardship, report on our field walk, it says AKA the Pinnacle. It says Barton, 76 acres, the Pinnacle. Is the Barton property the Pinnacle? I mean, isn't the Pinnacle on the Johnson property?
Johnson property, yeah.
No. I don't believe so. I think it's on the Barton property.
Where
If you read the deed, it includes a
Okay.
comment
Yeah,
about,
I see that.
about the Pinnacle.
Oh, okay.
It
Maybe
does.
on part of the Barton property.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, all right, I just
I mean,
wanted,
AKA means also known as, which is kind of a, I don't know that it's necessarily a legally binding term. It's more like, okay, this is what it's
Yeah,
nicknamed.
Yeah,
that's
also
underst-
known as.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
understandable, but it's
Yeah.
not the whole property.
Right.
No,
I think is the
no.
way that I,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to be sure that we know that the Pinnacle is on the Barton and not the Johnson,
No,
correct?
I
quite-
thought it was a.
Quite.
I thought it was
Who's
on
got the
Johnson.
deed?
Huh?
Anybody got the deed with them?
Uh,
I think if you read the deed,
look at the
it'll refer
map
to the
here
bar,
with the
barnacle.
two, and I think, looking at the
Pinnacle.
map, I'd say the Pinnacle is on the Barton parcel.
Okay, good,
Okay.
we'll accept that.
Okay.
Good.
Good, okay.
And your second comment?
My other comment was in the Newport Times,
Yeah.
under Bike, Hike, and Play Newport, Hidden Gems, the Pinnacle. Did we get consulted on this?
We're never consulted on
Right.
On anything? Okay, all right. I
it, which
think,
has gotta change.
I think so too, okay. Because it was a nice article, except when it got to the end, it referred to the, what did I wanna say? Where is it? An old foundation, which if we're trying to educate people, there is more information other than saying it's an old foundation. We could have, I mean, a little bit more history could have been
Okay.
put into this article about the old foundation.
Okay,
Mhm.
excellent.
So,
It's actually not up at the Pinnacle, that's on the Johnson.
that's on the
Yeah.
Johnson.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So.
And that's what's, I didn't read.
Yeah, I think when information goes out, it should be correct, you know,
Mhm.
and informative, and we could have, it could have done just a
Yeah, who wrote the
bit
article?
more of information,
Who
you know.
who wrote the article?
Doesn't say.
Doesn't
Yeah,
say.
that's
I believe
interesting.
I believe it's PJ writes those.
Okay.
I'm not
Or
positive.
as I said, at least the rec center.
The rec center,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So,
But on that note, before we get off of that, Don, I think that's where, because she had asked, well, where is the Pinnacle? And, you know, I take off from where that starts off on the Johnson property and kind of works its way back.
right,
So that's why I said,
exactly.
I don't know. I don't know, you know, whether that's on that line or,
Yep.
so.
Okay. Good questions, good comments, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move to warrant article. And at the last meeting, we proposed that to deal with our funding of the, dealing with the master plan and the NRI, that we would propose to have a warrant article placed for the meeting. I did speak with Paul about it, and he agreed that it would be okay. You've also got additional information against that, Christina, am I right?
I got additional, pardon me, say that again.
You weren't paying attention.
Well, I was actually looking, I believe it or not, I know, I was looking up examples of warrant
That's okay.
articles if we
Yeah.
wanted to like actually draft one tonight. Right, and I'm
Well,
like,
I don't think we need to draft it tonight.
okay, you don't, because I'm like, shoot, I should have brought what all our other
But I
warrant,
think we
so
need
that's
to
what I,
make su-
believe it or not.
Here's what I'm worried about. It's one thing to have somebody say, yes. And, you know, I said, will you help us with it? Oh, yes. We need to be reminding him,
Paul,
Paul.
there's
So we
ti-
want to make sure it's legally stated.
right,
Yeah.
so that's what I was kind of looking up when you wrote drafting it, I'm like, you know what, I don't even know how to start. So what was the question then, I apologize. you
We need
asked.
to keep Paul on board with
Yeah.
that.
Oh, okay, yes,
But
absolutely.
You have talked to Paul about it.
Let me, would you mind me drafting it without the number in it? Because we're drafting just a general warrant article for monies to be voted on by the town residents, for monies to go towards the
To deal with the master plan,
to-
specifically the Conservation Commission's
And-
role as natural resource.
to develop a natural resource. So I'll just write it as that, and obviously I think you guys could tweak it anyway, and I'll just leave out the amount till you decide the amount.
Because that will allow us to hire someone, although I've spent a little time, not that very little time, but a time ahead, looking at what is already in the master plan that you gave us. And there's a lot in there already.
There's,
So we need to talk with someone about what additional parts of that need to be there.
or if it's if it needs to be updated, I
Well,
will
there
say.
are wetlands that we don't know about.
Right. And then there's like the new well going the north.
Oh, no, get going on.
Oh, sorry. Stuff like that should be maybe like what should be in our master plan. Plus, the thing that they say is like important, and I have a hard. But how you write it in your master plan, it can be utilized either for or against projects that you don't want, and a lot of times I feel like there's projects that the town of Newport might not want, but the applicants are using our master plan to say it's in your master plan. And then they're getting it, and there's truth to that. So when you write it, if the conservation was more stringent on keeping open land open, people couldn't utilize filling up every spot of Newport as it's in your master plan. Not saying it says that, but that's just an example, and I'm not vocalizing it well.
Well, I don't know if it's legally binding if it's in the master plan,
No, but
but I
you
do
wouldn't,
know a lot of communities
you wouldn't.
use it as a Bible.
Use it.
It
Right.
is as a Bible, and
Yeah.
grant manage to get grants. Well, Christina, is it in your master plan? We're going for $1 million grant for the brownfields grant, and they're like, you need to state, is this in conjunction with your master plan? Everything is to the master plan. With that's so. We were going to start in January. Remember, we thought a fresh year, and I can't even get a planning board meeting. We've had 4 canceled in a row for no
Yeah.
quorum. So I do think we're going to be doing the master plan. It'll be at 2023, and let's start the January meeting. Is that good to have it on the agenda again?
We have stated that we want to hire someone to come in and help
For
us
the NRI.
for the NRI.
Absolutely.
That's really what the warrant article is.
Absolutely. I was kind of 2 different things, and then the master plan, but we still want to start working on updating the areas that the Conservation Commission oversees in the master plan.
Yeah, and also let the town office know what we oversee.
Right, absolutely. Well, right.
But I think mentioning the NRI as a component or a supplement to the master plan strengthens the argument for it.
Yes. We're gonna have to present at the meeting.
Yeah.
And I think, if we're all there and we all mention it, I don't think it won't pass.
At what meeting are we talking about?
The
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 town
Deliberative.
meeting?
town meeting.
Deliberative session.
deliberative session.
Yeah, I asked, so, excuse me just 1 second, along that lines, I did ask Jeff Littleton, who presented from Moosewood Ecological, if he would be available to come to that, and he says he does it all the time.
Good, excellent.
So I don't know if there would be a fee
Yeah.
involved, but
There's
that-
always a fee.
he can explain it
We might as well
almost,
spend it on that, than
Right.
taking other things out.
yeah, he can explain
Yeah.
it better than most of us.
Good. Great idea. See, let's make sure that happens.
Larry, before I-
Larry, I'm sorry,
In
looking
terms
this
of
way.
timeline, what would be our deadline to have a warrant article ready to submit?
Next month,
Next month?
right,
Is
Christina?
that the deadline?
No, it's coming up.
Now,
They're already working on the budget.
I know, we definitely are. And the meeting's in May. I didn't realize the warrant article deadlines were December, although.
They're not, but
They're
I
not.
wanna get it done.
Okay, then I was just gonna say, it's easy enough. They're not big, so once we make sure we have.
But they have
the-
to be legally
Legally
correct.
Written.
correct.
That
So
was a good
I'll
idea.
figure out what's legally correct. And if it's Todd, or I could send it to legal counsel too, that I deal with all.
Todd, you would go to
Todd,
Todd?
not Todd, Paul. If it's Paul who writes them and he knows
I
how
think
to,
you've gotta go to Paul first.
Paul,
Okay,
and
Paul
that's
does
my
write them?
recommendation. Yes, he
Paul
does write
actually
them.
writes them?
then I'll
But
let,
then they are reviewed by our lawyer.
The lawyer.
okay, then I'll let Paul write it with the absence of the amount.
I would prefer you write it.
Okay.
Bring it to Paul.
Paul,
and
absolutely.
Then let him carry the ball. So,
Okay.
but we gotta make sure the ball doesn't get dropped.
Absolutely
Yeah.
not.
Okay.
It will get put on, I'll check on all the deadline, let's make a deadline 30 days before a real deadline, because that's always beneficial.
So could you find out from Paul?
Paul, yeah.
And we want it done sooner than.
Absolutely, let's just get it over with.
Good.
One more question on, do we want to discuss an amount right now?
We had talked about 12,000, okay?
And would there be any benefit in putting in a language such as unused funds go back to the general fund? Or how would that work if, let's say the voter,
That
let's say it
has,
gets through all the
Yeah.
steps, it
I'd
passes.
like to put it in
Yes.
there that any unused funds come back to the Conservation
Conservation.
Committee.
Yeah, well,
Commission.
I mean, can we actually do that?
You could do either one,
Kind of thing,
and that's
yeah.
what we gotta decide.
Yeah,
And that's why it's gotta be written legally, to
right.
be able to do
Because I'd like it to have
Well,
it, I think it should come back to the
I
Conservation.
propose that we take
Agree with
discuss that piece right now and decide as a group how we want that to read,
Mhm.
what would happen with unexpended.
Do we think 12,000 is sufficient?
Well, that was gonna be.
Of course not. I think for.
Why don't we ask for 15?
Well, I think I don't think this should be a warrant article every year, but I think, that's my opinion.
Well,
But
it wouldn't
for
be
the-
every year. It's
This is a
warrant article.
one-time.
Well,
time.
one-time
no,
thing,
not
but you
necessarily though. Yeah.
Right, you would want to keep, like, we're kind of just getting, since we don't have one at all, this is probably the cheapest just to get a basic NRI. I would think every couple years, it would maybe be nice to have a line item, whether it's just in the general fund or it's under my budget, just towards the improvements to the NRI. Because you're
Well,
talking about, we don't
that's-
have one, we're not improving ours
I
for
propose
20.
we
You gotta-
worry about that
You gotta
Right.
next
get, you
year.
gotta get
Let's
this
worry about
first.
getting
Yeah, let's get the money.
Right, I don't
Figure out
think
what
you're
we
gonna have to
wanna
worry
do
about
with
not spending it.
Don,
But worry it.
what were the figures that this gentleman proposed?
Well, Jeff said anywhere between 8,000 and 72,000, I think, depending on what you want. That's
quantity
really
of it.
the difficulty. He can't give us a number because he doesn't know what we
Well, he
want.
said
Right.
8,000 was like literally a
Very
stripped
basic.
down car, right?
He-
That's why I'm
He
saying
wrote-
15.
He did say, if I can continue on, he did say that Claremont had, because I asked him how much theirs cost,
Right.
because I was looking at that as an example of an NRI in his work, and he said that cost about $22,000 because they wanted to include an evaluation of their wetlands.
But they already had an NRI. That was not brand new.
That's my recollection is what he said was $22,000. I don't know. If we're going to include, I'm beginning to think that for $12,000, all we could get is a very thorough evaluation of our wetlands and not necessarily an NRI. So I'm thinking 12,000 is just going to give us a basic NRI and then we
Then you
maybe add the wetlands later. I don't,
Do you want to go for
So again,
25,000? I'm a little worried about 25 because I don't know how the town.
No, I don't think you
Yeah.
15
should.
or 16?
Keep it in the teens would be my suggestion.
Mhm.
Once you hit the two number, that,
19,999.
Something.
Well, I mean, I think 15,000 would be a representative number. Maybe that's too low though.
good number to
That's
start
right.
with, I think.
Go ahead, Ken.
That's what I mean. I mean, we're discussing what a possibility might be, and if we're gonna discuss putting a number out there, I don't know that we're able to do that. I mean, because we're going.
We don't know what we're
8,000
asking for.
We don't know what we're
Yeah.
asking for. So we throw out 15, 16, 19 is the most. Maybe that's not what it's gonna be. Maybe it's gonna be more than that.
So what are you proposing?
Well, I think
I'm
you
not
stop.
proposing anything other than I don't think we are able to
We
come
know
up with a
wetlands
number tonight.
is a major one.
We
know.
need to do a little more research, I think,
Yeah,
to pull this number out, say the next meeting, or even if we had a number quicker, we pull a meeting quicker. So
Well,
let
I've
me,
gone
let me,
back
so
through,
let
I
me,
mean, you got the wetlands, you've got invasive species, what was some of the,
We probably want to know about recreation land, we, you know.
yeah, given what I read tonight, we've really got to figure it out.
Wildlife corridors.
For, you know, hunting, and that's, there may be an interest in knowing wildlife habitat and,
Well, see, that's it,
corridors
wildlife,
of-
what do we have for
of,
wildlife? You know, I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
and just, you know,
I think that's where you get the building blocks. We're gonna get, I don't think we're gonna get a Chevette. I think we're gonna get like a Honda Civic. But then I'd like to.
they're the same car, they're just different colors.
No, I had a
I don't
Chevette.
like
Picking the
either
wrong
one.
one.
I had a Chevette and it was
Chevette
not
man,
a
I'm
Honda
passing that one
Civic.
for sure.
It was not. And then we do every year, I mean, they'll stop once they've spent the month. Like, it's just getting us the outline. And
See, I think Christina's got a point, because
Oh, I do
since we
too.
don't know what
Let's just-
exactly what we want, and Jeff said we could get a basic one for down around the numbers that we're talking about.
Right.
Okay.
Because 8,000 isn't 8,000 anymore, it's inflation, all that, it's gonna be
Can-
more than,
go ahead, Ken.
Okay, I just want to touch on where I'm thinking. So that if we're all acceptable about a basic, then that's fine. And if we can do that for 8,000, then that's fine. We go for that 12 number. But I think Larry's right. If we could get something more diverse and it was 16 to 19 to stay within Gunther's, then I think that's also a good use in our information. So we're gonna go to the public and we're gonna say, we wanna look at all these things for you at X amount of dollars. And if there's a way to write in that if we can do it for 15 or 14, and the money would go back to general fund, again, it looks well for us, so that when we then want to go for a budget or a line item for the Conservation Commission,
Which we
now we looked at as responsible
Yeah.
by the public, because we're asking the public to vote on this.
Right.
We're not asking the town to put this out for us to, so I think there's a lot of,
Can Jeff give us some, actually, we've got a base in the master plan already.
you know, Larry tried, I think I know where you're gonna go. Can Jeff tell us what we're gonna get for the money? Larry, you already tried that with him,
Didn't work.
and it didn't seem to work.
yeah, I think it's a little difficult, but I think, I think it would be helpful for us to identify the things that, the key elements that we think would be useful as it would pertain to long-range planning and master plan. You know, and I think wetlands naturally is
One priority.
one big priority, but, you know, recreation lands and hunting lands, probably, you know, looking at the way things have trended in the county, there may be an interest in knowing what the farmlands are, you know, the good farm soils, you know, or soils.
Soils was one of the things that.
Soils is a base, yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of a big,
Brooks and streams,
absolutely.
you know?
so then, on that note, would it be wise for us to come up with, say, 6 important things for us to look at? And then you take that back to him and say, look, we'd like to look at these 6 things. And he says, that's 30 grand.
That
And
seems,
then we
that's the
say-
appropriate way to do it.
And then we say, well, let's do 3. We'll take the best 3 out of the most important.
Yeah.
And he says, shit, we can do that for 8.
It's pretty clear from things I've been learning that if we keep them out of the field, we save money. A lot
Keep
of
them
money.
out of the field.
And if we are looking at fairly standard things that are already
Looked at.
in you know,
So
the
if they could
free
go back and-
domain through the US Forest Service and the New Hampshire Fish and Game, and there's an awful lot of stuff that's.
Can that be done and still identify the wetlands to the level of detail we're looking for?
That I don't know.
Yeah.
But like
But I
that,
think
we
Kenny's
might
right.
go, we might go with that one.
I think that's what they're gonna wanna see,
Yeah.
So I think
the
we can,
contractors.
for our next meeting, if we could review what's already there in the master plan. There are several items that are there, and we'll cull down to 6, ask them there, and also maybe take a look at some other, Christina, can you get us some other NRIs that we might be able to look at?
Yeah, let me see, like, I'm wondering if when you start an NRI, you don't get a lot of choices. It's almost like when you're building a house, you start with the foundation. I wonder if there is a foundation to an NRI and the wetlands aren't necessarily the foundation.
Well,
I just
you
wonder.
don't-
But we want,
$3,000
what we
version.
want to do.
And that's the
Pardon me?
foundation.
It's what we want to do.
Absolutely, but I think there might be a foundation and then they build on top of the cake.
That could be true.
I just am saying, I agree, I want the fluff too. Just didn't know, that was just, I'm gonna review, I'm gonna get some, I'll review the master plan, what's in there.
Well, we all should look at that and come
Yeah.
prepared to say, here are the items that we
You what?
want to
And
examine.
then,
Right.
and then I can ask around if people believe there is a foundation, like when you do a base one, what are the necessities that have to be at least written first? It's like when you start a book, you do have to, well, actually, they say they can write the last chapter first. I don't know, you know what I'm saying. Somewhere must be a starting point, and I would think that they need some basic elements that will cost us something to start with before you get to nest. But
Scenes you're building houses,
This is
I
a
go
good
into the
reason
builder
to look
and
at one
We
and
have
say,
one.
this is the one, not
Yeah.
a master plan,
right.
Oh.
an NRI. Claremont is available on its website,
Many are.
yeah.
I would direct us also to the town of Fitzwilliam. Apparently that their first NRI a dozen years ago or so was written by the Conservation Commission.
really?
Oh, really? And are they still
much-
on the first draft, like what they did is?
They are now hiring
that's
the
smarter than
professionals
I
to do an update.
How many hours did they put into that?
Well, not only that,
And
but
is this
they were all-
commission
they
willing
were
to
all
put in those hours?
retired
That's why.
engineers or something, so
Yeah.
they,
I can't.
And
But
then-
I would say, I mean, I think that we've got a starting point, Ken, I'm
Yeah.
glad you brought that out, or whoever did,
Mm-hmm.
that we're gonna take a look at what are the 6 priorities that we have to look at in an NRI, all right? And you're gonna,
I'm gonna write a warrant article, proof it through Paul,
yeah,
and then.
Just say
and
where-
Is this basically right, and then I'll bring it in here.
yeah, we
And
don't
then-
have to put a figure in that.
Right, I'm not
Yeah.
putting any figure in, I'm just gonna write the warrant article, let's just get that written, and then if we can have it all legally written, all we have to do is when you
Plug in a
decide the
number.
amount, we throw in the amount, I hand it back to the board and, or to, the higher ups, and it gets put into whatever the deadlines are for the main.
So for
meeting.
next meeting, we will come prepared to discuss
Top priorities.
top priorities.
The written warrant article, and I will pull Fitzwilliam's NRI, and I will maybe try to pull, and maybe I'll pull Claremont, but they've spent big bucks.
$22,000.
But I thought that was an upgrade. I don't think it's their first, but I could be
Well,
wrong.
Centerpiece rewriting theirs at 20.
Rewriting, which means they've already put in some, right,
Is that master plan or NRI?
NRI.
NRI.
You can also go, just for everybody's information, you can go onto the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions websites, and they have on that website, the towns that have their NRI available through so you can probably
What was
find
that
it.
again?
Okay, just NHACC, New Hampshire Association of Conservation
Yeah,
Commissions.
we belong to that, right?
Yep,
And you guys went to it.
Okay, so I'll try to get some examples, and then I will write the warrant article, and then you guys, I guess, give your top priorities.
Okay, good.
And then what about the money, though? Are we moving anywhere? I'm figuring out a sum, or no,
No,
nothing?
not right
Okay.
now. I think we
Okay.
need to establish priorities and then we'll maybe ask, well, if we want this, what's it gonna cost us?
I think that's the way to do it, I
Yeah.
think so. When you go to buy a car, you go, well, what is, heated seats?
Yeah,
Right.
That's what I was
to
thinking,
that.
like, do we need the wheels first?
yeah, I don't wanna shut it.
Regardless, that's what I was kind of thinking. Am I right, Linda? Am I the only one that sounds?
He had a nickname that I can't say here
say.
in public.
All right, the annual meeting attended by Larry and Dawn. Do you have a report for us, or?
No, you want to start?
Well, I was gonna defer to you.
All right, no, go ahead.
It was great. Number one, it was a good day just hanging with Dawn, but the meeting started out with a keynote, and I wish I could remember they had, it was a question and answer back and forth, a dialogue between, oh man, do you have the name of the keynote speakers?
No.
I'll have it in a bit, but nevertheless, the woman is an educator down in Hancock at a nature sort of, it's kind of like VINS, like Vermont Institute of Natural
It's called the
Science.
Harris Center.
Harris Center,
Yeah.
exactly. And the kid, I actually saw a New Hampshire Chronicle on him, 12 years old, incredibly well-spoken for a 12-year-old, and he's got a YouTube channel just trying to educate kids and getting them excited about the natural world, and his passion is orangutans. This kid's he's a real carrot top himself, so I guess he identifies with orangutans. But after that, we broke out to the sessions. I did the fundamentals of conservation commissions, which was just a good overview, kind of a primer on what they do, what you need to bring to the table if you're a member of conservation commission. They got into some of the laws and the RSAs and some of the things that people really ought to be paying attention to, you know, zoning and
Larry, did you feel we were in those lines?
you know, I guess I can't say from historical, because I haven't paid
No, I mean,
a lot of
no, we headed in a
attention.
good direction.
I think we're heading in a good direction.
Yeah, no,
you
I'm
know.
not looking at the past.
Yeah, I think we're heading in a good direction, especially with some of the initiatives, like getting the NRI and being ready,
Yeah.
you know, for the
Yeah.
next decade. And, you know, some of the things we've been doing around our finances and being a little more diligent about getting our, you know, reports and watching the ins and outs.
Some areas that you think we may be lacking before we get going?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Did you see some areas where we are not headed but should be headed?
No, I think we're kind of moving in the right direction.
And touching
Uh,
on everything that we should be as a committee?
Yeah, there's some things we may want to be looking to in the future,
Yeah.
you know, looking at zoning, you know, and making sure that the existing zoning
Works with
regulations really fit the
Yeah.
master plan, really fit things like buffer zones, you know, wetlands are one thing, but if the wetland ends here and 5 feet over here, for instance, looking at Route 10, there's really no buffer zone between North Main Street and all the wetlands that run north of Haslerette Park. You know, in the future, we may want to look at zoning.
I'd like to just touch on that for a minute. We were on a back road in Newport tonight, and we came across a lot that is is put up for sale. It was just enough land that they filled in for a driveway. The rest of it drops right off to nowhere, and there's a brook coming back around the other side of it. I mean, they would have to fill this thing in you know, I think there's some concern
That's why,
that's
Well,
right with that
Which
zone.
was an interesting thing, not only buffer zones around wetlands, but there was a guy from Holderness, and he got into a conversation with the presenter about steep slope ordinances.
Yeah.
And you know, they in the town of Holderness, they have ordinances around steep slopes,
Good.
so that nothing gets approved unless it's in compliance with steep slope,
Yeah.
because, you know, if
Wow,
you're
this-
building right below, or you're building and undercutting a slope, or you're building above, and, you know, a lot of runoff, so
That's
we
what I
may
said,
want to be,
it's-
in the future, looking at ordinances for steep slope, or how,
Well, I think that's something great to come back to, because I've never seen a lot for sale like this ever.
yeah.
It's on Cuts Road, you guys can go out there and take a look, it's just, I mean, they had filled in just enough to be able to get your car off the road and put the sign there,
Well,
and the rest of it just goes,
Is it in a wetland or?
and then there's a brook down
Yeah.
around the backside of
and
it.
that kind of dovetails a little bit with.
So anyway, we don't need to stay on that.
Yeah, but the second talk I went to was presented by Jeff Littleton, and it was know your natural resources, but some of the sidebar conversations there were about the flow of information back and forth from planning board and zoning and conservation commissions, you know, precisely because,
They all go hand in hand.
and I don't know how building permits are really
Approved.
approved, but if the conservation and planning board are working in separate cells and not communicating, that kind of thing could happen, you know. A plan was approved, and
It's
You know,
not
they-
zoned.
Right.
planning
It's
board
not
didn't,
zoned.
or whoever, you know, gave the green light, wasn't really paying attention to the wetland or a steep slope and runoff and all kinds of things, so.
Well, most wetland permits, dredge and fill permits or applications are up to the person doing the developing to submit.
Yeah.
But
But
if
if
they
there's-
don't and they build, it's too late.
Exactly.
But if if there's the protected wetlands, the protected New Hampshire wetlands that I know where they are generally, and if I have any questions, I've called. I just called recently because someone said there was wetlands on a property on John Stark, and so I just called. And there might be wetlands, but they're not now. They're not New Hampshire protected. Any construction being built on a parcel that has wetlands has to go in front of you. Now,
And that hasn't happened.
And that's
the past.
if the person doing the building
Is
identifies
applied for
them as
that.
wetlands.
no, I do that.
Okay, so a case in point is the violation that we just saw from the state.
Well, there was no building going. I never got I don't permit for parking lots.
Well, I'm just saying,
Oh,
this is a
yeah.
case in point of the whole
Oh.
conversation we're
They're
having
not
right
doing
But
now.
that is,
Right.
yeah, that has nothing to do, I'm only in the construction. Someone deconstructing their property that's why that was right.
Well, we can get back to that, but I think what Larry's saying is that goes back to that gives some clout
To the inventory.
to the inventory.
Right.
Absolutely.
But at the same
Because
point,
now we're doing exactly what happened. Well, I didn't do that. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
No, you did that because you didn't do that.
Mhm.
And then
nobody ever comes to the Conservation Committee.
no.
it has not.
And what we need to do, I think there's a whole communication problem
Mhm.
with us. And in fact, not
We're
with
not
us,
seen-
but
We're not
with,
seen as, the group,
Right.
the commission is not seen as serious,
yeah.
in my opinion, not the people.
Well, I think they're beginning to take it seriously, but there's no procedure
Yeah.
that includes us.
If there are protected wetlands, I do bring the cases to you.
When's the last time we did that?
Well, it's the
Solar
solar
project,
project.
yeah.
Now, I will say, I have a very large project right now with wetlands on the property. And this is getting a little deviant, but I've been having a lot of fighting with the project and me, and I say, you guys have you have to go in front of the CC board. And they're like, no, we don't. And I said, yes, you do, and we're fighting on it. And the reason, and now they're saying that, and I have the booklet for you, I should bring it in here to show you. They're saying the wetlands, they're gonna do a subdivision. They have not done a subdivision now, so they keep talking about we're subdividing it. That's why we don't have to argue, but you haven't subdivided it. So since you have it, you have to CCC. And then they said, but we are. And again, they haven't been seen yet. And I can go get this file for you.
No, that's okay,
We
but
didn't do
But-
that,
My
go ahead.
my question is a wetland, does a wetland include a stream, a river?
That's a
A
water
brook?
body.
Yeah, that's
That's
a
a-
body.
It's just surface water,
Wetland.
which has its own
Like-
regulations, like the
marsh.
setback requirement.
Right,
setback.
but you think about what we have in Newport, we have streams and rivers going in all directions, for different points in Newport, plus all the little small feeder streams, those need to be considered too in
But
the building construction
Go
lots
ahead.
like we were talking about.
And I think the point, the take-home point from this was, it would be, in many towns, a conservation commission member may be an alternate on the planning board, or, so
Yeah,
that,
that there is
so we're
crossover.
aware of all that
Right.
stuff.
Well, there's no reason why we couldn't attend a meeting or.
Or attend
and-
meetings, exactly.
Yeah.
Aren't they televised?
Exactly.
When they have them.
When they
When they
have.
have,
Right.
yeah.
Because the purpose being, you don't want to then, after the fact, find out, oh, we didn't know that
Yeah.
Mhm.
had been approved.
Yeah,
And by the way, there was a big,
Yeah, okay, so my whole comment is this. We need better communication procedures to where things go. But if you tell somebody they gotta come to Conservation Commission,
They gotta come.
what are we gonna do? Tell me what we do.
What do you
We just
mean?
listen? Do
Oh,
we
well,
tell them
this
you
is- this
can't
is
do
the
that?
intro-
Do we have a legal right to say, well, you're violating? What do
If
we
they're
do?
not in any violation of anything, you really can. And I will say with this one project,
So we just listen?
no, you are allowed input. And to make sure, a lot of it is the oversight to make sure they're not going to trample over anything.
Okay,
And probably to make people aware, you're right, we're aware that this is on your property and you better, well, there was also the Turkey Hill Road, remember?
that was
They-
after the fact.
That was.
And
Yeah.
then the proposed apartment down here on Canal Street, they
That-
came before us.
You know what's interesting about that? There's no wetlands. They came because of the waterway.
yeah.
And
Water
I
body.
had them come, right?
Yes.
Yes. And I also had, remember Peter Hill came?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yes. So, do I have a right to mandate on any waterway to get them to see you?
You
I
should.
might.
I think you should.
I think if
I
they
might
getting,
be able
if
to
they're getting,
say, because I'm the one that stops giving out permits.
Yeah.
Like
that's what I was gonna say, you're the one that,
but I can't illegally stop giving out permits. Like I can't say you're not allowed a permit just because I've made up you have to do something.
I
but-
don't think you're making it up.
I don't think so either
my sense is
necessarily.
that people don't necessarily have to present to us. You permit people, but,
They do if there's I know you have to be seen for the CC, in front of the CC with wetlands.
but we should be kind of in
The
the
loop.
loop, advising
For
you if you're the one who's
Yeah.
gonna sign off.
Because
have
I'd be
a-
interested about buffer zones and
Yeah.
things of that nature,
Yeah.
because I'm
Exactly.
sure that's an issue that needs to be,
But I
That's
think
What
we,
what is the
NRI.
process, Christina? So I went to the wetlands sessions at this, there were 3 of them. And my head was spinning because honestly, I don't even really understand the process. It talks about a dredge and fill permit or application. And that's if there's a known wetland, is that correct? If there's a known wetland?
Yes, but we never allow that, like, we would never allow that.
But they can put in an application.
Yes, and then we can, and even if New Hampshire approves it, we can hold them up on not approving it.
We can do that if we intervene immediately. That was
Yeah, we have a 30-day intervening and saying,
not
yeah,
according to the class I went to. It's 14 days. We can,
14.
they referred to it as a notice of intervention.
It was only, I thought we were given 30, okay.
There's a 21-day period for a different type of permit that's related to this. Again, they presented so much information, my head was spinning. I didn't really get a lot out of it, honestly, because there was just too much there. It could have gone on, I could have been there for a day. But the one thing they did say, if a dredge and fill application is submitted to the town clerk or you, that it should be submitted to us immediately. I mean, they put in big letters, immediately.
Now, wait a minute, when there's dredge and fill, I think that's submitted to DES.
But you should,
You should be asked for a
here,
permit.
here, let's give you this and see if you've ever seen this. Because that was, and then we have the opportunity to submit our concerns to the DES. And they were saying because our meetings are only monthly, they think that there should be a subgroup of the Conservation Commission that handles this so they can respond immediately. And that there should be a site visit. Supposedly, if there's a dredge and fill application submitted and they sign off on it, that gives us the right to go on the property and do an inspection.
'Cause
So,
that's
so this isn't, to me, this is interesting.
Well, it
This
says
is
to
to the
town
town
clerks.
clerk, well, that's like, I
Well,
might
who
not
gets the
get.
application?
Pardon me?
Who gets the application?
It sounds like it would go to Lee. The town clerk, it's sent,
So we don't know at this point. Nobody knows.
well, it says it here, but I should be, I hope no one's done one of these.
What does dredge and fill mean?
It means they can go into a wetland
And ruin
and they're
it.
gonna modify it,
Modify
basically.
it.
They're gonna
Run
fill
off
it in.
different areas or.
That is still, that's allowed in
Well, that's-
2022?
That's right, and fill it, and they're saying and fill it in. They're
So
saying,
that-
fill it in. I'm gonna take a
It's
copy
not
of
on
this.
Ford thing.
Well, for
So this is
example, this thing down on John Stark
That's what I
Highway,
was gonna say.
they,
So,
they did a fill there.
That's-
yeah. So what was gonna be my example as well? If they would've come in for a permit to do what they wanted to do, we would've been able to go out there and look and see, to go back to the wetlands. So the body of water is the river, but that is soaking wet land. So that's the wetlands that they want to dredge, put rock in there, make a parking lot out of it. So everything that we're talking about did not happen there. So then, in my end, question what was going to be, doesn't the town have some leeway to stop that?
I think
Because
that's
at the
the,
point, that's what I said that day when you called me. We don't have the permission to go on that land and look at that. We
if
gotta
they
be
had signed an
careful.
application, we would have.
We would have.
Right.
But did they file an application?
No.
The only reason we found out about it was because somebody,
Somebody.
Why,
Somebody,
why didn't
Right,
they,
somebody
why didn't they
contacted
file a
you.
permit?
Well, okay, so this one though, this is what was confused me about that violation. There were no wetlands on that property. I even called DES.
well, according to the DES,
I
there
know,
was.
that's why I don't get that. And they were in
They come out-
violation because they were abutted the Sugar River.
No,
Also,
That's not the way I
no,
read
that's
that.
not- no. They were in trouble for dredging and filling.
We're gonna be talking about this
Yeah.
Okay.
later.
yeah, maybe
So,
later.
yes.
Let me,
Right.
let me
So
look
let's
into
move
this.
to
I just
Don.
wanted to say one
Larry's
last
gonna-
thing.
Larry's
The
gonna-
third thing I attended was budgeting, and I found that very helpful. A lot of conservation commissions fund their, or replenish their fund through the land use change tax.
Yeah, we've talked about
We've
that.
talked
Current
about
use
that.
tax.
Current use tax.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of money comes into this town when that happens.
And many municipalities, through whatever, it probably went to a warrant at one time to the taxpayers that 100% or a portion of that would go directly to the Conservation Commission fund. And so that may be something we really want to push, a warrant in the next year or two, and find out, you know, if the taxpayers want to funnel
Yeah.
even a small portion of that tax whenever it's assessed
Yeah.
and collected.
I will tell you, we need to make sure that we have things in order. I've already spoken to Paul about this.
He's not for it.
Oh, no, and I'm sure Hunter would not be for it,
No.
because they don't want to lose any revenue
For them.
that they're able to manipulate.
They don't want to lose control.
There you go.
You are,
Oh,
the
yeah.
boards are a nuisance to
But-
people,
Yeah, even,
because you
even the
guys
select
have the
board.
control.
But I
We're one
think-
of the worst, though. They don't like us.
Oh, but you, it's
Okay.
because they,
But to answer that is, they don't look at the Conservation Commission as any structure.
We don't have to answer to them, by the way.
Once we have
You-
some
they have to answer
They
structure,
have
you.
to answer to us.
follow
they
me?
have to answer to you.
Once we have some structure, then we go for the NRI
Yeah,
warrant article. Now we start doing some real things that people see. We write in the book and we
Yeah.
send pictures and we do some stuff.
Mhm.
The only thing we gotta worry about at that point is when we start looking at wetlands and building lots so now we don't wanna be too structured to offend the taxpayer.
Well,
But
people
then
don't
I
want to be
think-
told that their property's a wetland.
Exactly, but I mean, my point to that was, if we go, get some structure, get that NRI through the warrant, 2-3 years down the road, then we go and we say, look we just want 10% of the current use tax. And we want 5% of the cutting of the lumber back to the people as a warrant article to get something established. So,
Well, I think part of that is what Kenny says, though, we gotta get our name out there and show people that we do good things in addition to being
yeah,
somewhat of a pain
So
in the
anyway,
neck.
yeah, so there's my report.
good, thank you.
Yeah.
If you want to contribute.
Sure, well, we already talked about a lot of what I
Yeah, okay.
had. It was given, one of the classes I went on was about the new National Wetlands Inventory. They gave us this flyer that's actually put out by Ducks Unlimited, because as everybody can imagine, duck hunters really love wetlands. If anybody's interested in looking at this, I have not gone on the website, but that's a federal website, and it's what they spoke about mostly was that they upgraded it and it has all sorts of codes on the map that are, everything's an acronym, so you need to know the codes. But anyway, anybody who's interested in going online to look for the new National
National
Wetlands
Wetland.
Inventory, they did mention the need to designate a Conservation Commission member or members to file the intervention, notice of interventions in the case of wetland applications. They mentioned there's a one-stop wetlands permit query. That's on the NHDES website, and I believe that is to allow us to view the status of an application. That is my understanding. I tried looking at that today, and it was a little bit more than I wanted to chew on today. I already mentioned that. They did say to perform a site walk for every application. That's a dredge and fill application. They recommended that we take certain equipment that I won't go into now. Firearms, no, I'm just kidding. need public notice of a meeting if there's a quorum present. On the website for the NHACC, that's the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions, there is a presentation that is about how to review wetlands permit applications. They seem to put all their emphasis on response to an application. So I'm not sure how we resolve these other issues we were talking about as far as keeping up with what goes on.
Well, I think a lot of it, we need to make sure that, Christina receives the information, and you can,
I'll
Alert us.
ask how many dredge and fills.
well, not just that, wetlands applications, anything that's
Right.
dealt with wetlands. Since I've been here, we haven't been getting it much.
Well, usually it's prompted somewhat by when I get an application for something, whether it's on private property or whether someone's just building a home, or I just talked to someone the other day, was looking to buy land on John Stark Highway, and I pulled up the property and I was like, oh, what's interesting, 90% of your frontage on John Stark Highway is a wetland. So I go, you might want to be aware of that because you're not going to be allowed to drive through that area. You do have a section that isn't. So I always look whenever there's something being built. That's part of the analysis, is what is on this property, what are they near, do you have to go to the state for this approval? If you're, especially when there's septics going in and you're near a shoreline, so I do deal with this often. Although I have not seen, any dredge and fill, and I'll ask Lee, going through Lee,
Well, I just,
or whatever.
more than just dredge and fill, we should be alerted to anything about wetlands. Bert Spalding, when I was on a planning board with him, that was always something he looked at. What are the wetlands? And
Absolutely.
would argue, that should trigger a response to us.
Absolutely.
So maybe when we do finally meet with the planning board, we can bring that up.
There's also, it's not limited to the dredge and fill. It also covers the shoreland permit application. So like that property that you and I and Gunter went through at one time, that must have had a shorelands permit application. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it covers both those types of things. They also gave us a breakdown of the inspectors that review the permits so that you can know by region. So I have a copy of this and I have a copy of that if anybody wants it, or we can make copies and disseminate them. So we can do that at some point. And that's about it. Yeah, I learned
Thank you
that-
both for attending.
Yeah.
Learned that I got a lot more to learn.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had
Go ahead.
just
I'm sorry.
question for Christina. So all permits come into you? Driveway permit,
Every single,
permit for turning their property into a gravel pit.
change of use, I guess, if they're allowed to, there's no permit for it. Like if it's allowed, so say you buy a property in the heavy industrial area and it's a house, and you want to make it a gravel pit, you do not have to permit for any. No, but if you're constructing something, you have to call.
Okay.
So that fellow down on John Stark Highway didn't need to put in an application for a building permit.
Well, there was a lot of discussion on this, and I just read through this. I feel like there might be wetlands on an adjoining property that they're talking about, that because of the way you did because I know and I haven't called DES about this yet, but I just know there's no New Hampshire protected wetlands on his property. Not saying that he put a pipe under his, parking lot and the runoff goes right into a wetland. But I'm not sure. So all permits, yes, and a lot of people do call me all the time and say, am I allowed to do this on this property? I'm looking to buy this property. based on this zone, am I allowed to do this, this, and this?
There are a lot of people, however, that probably would rather ask forgiveness than ask permission.
Yeah.
Well, if you're trying to do, if you're just your own private person, it's easy. But if you're actually putting in a business, it's very hard to go unnoticed.
Yeah, okay.
You'd be so that's someone, it's very,
Good.
and it's also very hard to build something almost anywhere now, although there are places that you can build unnoticed. But businesses, very hard to do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in this town even, there's not as many as you think, and neighbors usually will let us know. Because I don't go driving around looking for violations. I wouldn't even have time.
So the planning board wouldn't necessarily know these things that you know, right? 'Cause
Yes.
you don't have to bring them to the planning board every time you get one, right?
Well,
She does.
it has to go to the planning board if it's business related. And anything business related, like this project that came in front of the planning board last night, although we didn't have a quorum, so nothing came in front of the planning board. There are wetlands in this one little tiny corner. They're saying they're gonna subdivide it off, and then then it's a non-issue, which they're actually right. If they get rid of it, if they make another part, they're right, it's a non-issue. But it isn't that way now, it
You
is.
gotta make sure there are buffers. I like that, what you brought up about, you know.
Yeah, there's this is one last
Yeah.
thing I didn't mention that I was given this at the class. It's about wetlands, best management practices. Anybody who wants to borrow it, I'm more than happy to loan it out. But I think that's touches on what Barry is talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also buffers, rationales for a lot of things with buffer zones, especially, you're right, natural resources and wetlands, but even for like farming, we don't have any buffers. You could literally have a farm and then have like a quarry that does explosives right next to it. And I couldn't imagine what farm animals would be like. And when you have explosives, so we don't have buffer zones for a lot of things that we maybe should, potentially.
We have explosions all the time.
Well.
Shake our house.
When you're up on the hill there.
Yeah.
So if they have, and in that case, if there are wetlands, they're seen in front of you, and the
Good.
planning board they do follow your input, and they're the ones that can make them do
Okay.
this, that, and the
Good.
other thing.
All right.
And we have a determination of what is wetlands that you go by.
I do. Now, I just called the other day, again, because sometimes I'm like, if I don't see a wetland and someone says there is one, I call DES. But I think my maps are pretty accurate. Maybe I should call DES and say, are these maps that I'm using pretty accurate?
Mhm.
Because this property, I looked it up and it had no wetlands on it.
But as we've been told, just
Yeah.
because they don't have a wetland inventory doesn't mean there isn't a wetland. Again, this violation on John Stark Highway is a case in point. That didn't show up on your map.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. So you can have a wetland on your property, but it's not a protected New Hampshire wetland. Then you can do anything you want with it because it's private property.
Well, is this one in the New Hampshire protected wetland?
No, there's no.
Well, this-
That's what I'm saying. It's full of buckthorn. So the buckthorn might have changed, the landscape, the soil, so it's not,
Is that the one you drove, you guys were driving by? Is that the one you're talking about?
no, this is on John Stark.
Okay.
So it didn't, to me, visually, it doesn't look like a wetland.
It looked like it to me, and I told them
It
that,
did get you.
in my opinion, it looks like a wetland, but I'm not an expert.
Yeah, see,
I
to
came
me,
out and told them that, and I suggested that they hold off.
Yep.
I said, you might want to hold off until you get better clarification.
yeah, but in my opinion, it didn't look like a wetland to me.
Yeah, but that's,
That's just visually,
But if I go get you the map right now, I can pull this property up, and I have no record of it being the New
designated.
Hampshire protected one.
Right.
And aren't you?
Are we gonna be talking about this later?
Yes, you are. So yeah.
All right. So let's move on to Land Conservation Invest Program reports. That's the
bring a
Deal
copy
with
with me,
letter of
because I thought
officials.
I thought there would be copies here.
Okay, what did I miss on this, Don?
Right here,
Never
there are
mind.
copies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get a copy, I don't know where,
Oh,
Here.
no, but it doesn't matter, I'm all set.
No,
I'm
give
sure
me,
it was- I have a copy at home, I didn't,
Yeah, but it was
No,
in,
Bring it
take
with me.
his, because I've got one.
it
okay,
was in the packet.
thanks.
Did I
All right.
miss- Did I
That's
miss-
all right, no, you're
Yeah.
you're fine.
okay, so, the first one was the Barton property, AKA the Pinnacle, which we've decided is part of the Barton property, okay? And so having read through this, there seem to be some issues. CLS recommendation that are in red.
Mhm.
And so if you look on that page 2 of 9, it's got a little map. So they're concerned about personal use of the L-chip conservation property by private individuals. Okay? Do we know who the private individuals are that they're talking about here?
Yes.
Yes.
And as I read through this, they're saying they might have been harvesting wood off the land.
We don't know that. I don't think there was a determination as
yeah.
to whether.
But these
that
are
was-
properties that we oversee,
Correct.
Yes,
okay?
that abut these residential properties.
And if you notice, Barry, this Steve Walker, Attorney General Department, this was, in 2015, we asked, Hunter to send a letter to one of those abutters to the land, so that's that
Did
letter.
that happen?
Yes,
Yes.
that was the one on the corner where
Okay.
they
Yeah.
were doing the wood,
Yeah,
they were cutting up their firewood on the property,
Yeah.
using a corner of the Barton property as their own,
As their own,
yeah.
as their own.
okay?
And
And that was dealt with?
it was dealt with, took a while, was an issue.
Because I'm looking, seeing
went-
here,
Yes,
that picture and
Yeah.
this picture, Swan Street.
yeah,
And first of all, they're pretty close to,
Yeah, so
Property.
at the time, on the corner property, I helped install, formed a rock corner where they couldn't get back onto the property. Now we're finding that beyond that rock wall area, down further into, there's been an ATV trail,
yeah.
you know, there,
Should we post something in that area?
we should.
Well, we did put up the
CC.
tags
Yeah.
that were provided
Yeah,
to us, we put
provided.
up more of those.
Yeah.
And the
We-
state did give us a sign back in 16 that we put up and said that this was L-chip land, and
Is that
so
still
there's
there?
one, yes,
Yes.
there's one there.
Okay.
But I'm not sure, and I don't know if this is where you're going, that the Conservation Commission should not probably come up with a sign, you know, that we put along that,
Well, the transportation department's pretty good about putting up signs.
property.
Oh, it's good, Barry. It's terrible.
You know, along that property line, beyond the tags, a posted sign,
Yeah.
no trespassing, but, this is conservation land.
Is
Well,
this,
we ought to tell them ATVs can't go on it.
is
right,
this
they're
innocent?
using it, you know, as their own.
Yeah,
And they've damaged the stone wall so they can get the ATV.
they
you know,
moved
through
rocks,
the-
I guess, or
yes.
something.
You
Yes.
have, I think, are they knowingly doing this?
Yes,
Well,
If
and
you're
knowing
moving
it's
rocks, you
not
know you're doing
theirs,
it.
though? Because I do believe there's recourse. You could go for damages easily for
If you can
this.
prove that they did it,
Yeah,
I think
prove
it's
they did it,
legal.
yeah.
and then
Recourse, yeah.
and then this shed too, that's
Yep.
pictured. she says that it's very near or on the
Almost on
boundary.
our property.
Well, you have there's setbacks,
Yeah.
and that cannot be there. It's a setback violation, so I can go.
So who do we contact to get this done?
Well, I think we need to send letters out to several individuals in the area.
I think all the abutters would be,
All the abutters
Right.
of the property, all the way around. That goes back to me saying, hey, we're out here and we're doing stuff. But this particular thing goes to my overreach on their view, not mine. And that's why we need to be careful
Careful,
with
I agree
asking
with
money,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
That-
yeah.
We're coming out of the gate
I think
with
there's
a
just,
fight on this one.
us-
Because this was fought prior to me getting on the board,
Mhm.
probably for about 10 years.
this
Yeah,
property.
These
and-
boundaries.
And the gentleman was given permission from the chairman of this committee to be able to do that. So we had the town had an issue and a fight with this
Well, we're
resident.
just sending out letters of notice that,
Right,
and-
Gentle approach, I think, is
Yeah.
what I'm
Letters of notice.
suggesting.
because it's
Sure.
not just moving rocks and using ATVs, they're throwing, brush,
Yeah.
plant
Yeah.
trash,
correct.
you know,
Yeah.
over that boundary. And it's not just one person, all the
The-
abutters
Like
are
the
doing
leaves,
it.
Yes.
Yeah,
being
I
pushed
mean,
up in the parking lot.
yeah. yeah,
And I'm assuming they're gonna look at it like, it's just leaves, it's just grass, it's just, but I think with a letter, we also say, but we have to abide by some rules. We didn't make up
Yeah.
these rules.
And here are the
We got
recommendations, you
some
might wanna
money.
list the recommendations.
We got
Yeah.
some money from the state to allow us to buy this property, and that came with some rules, and that's all we're doing.
I think that's an
Well-
excellent point, that any letter we send out, we back it up with that piece.
well, I'm wondering along those lines if we don't wanna wait to see if we get a letter, it sounds like a letter similar to that one
yes.
may be coming.
Oh,
Because she
from,
said she's gonna refer it to the
Yeah.
Department
yes,
of Justice.
yeah.
and
Yeah,
Yeah,
Charitable
I mean,
Trust.
this
So-
is easier to prove than you think.
yeah,
Because you
She's
have
referring to-
tracks going from a private
Department of
property
Justice.
to your property. They're either allowing someone,
Right.
or it's them,
Right.
and they have to stop it.
Larry,
Yeah.
because she had said right off the bat, the guidelines on getting this property, they can't do this.
And they've already
she knew
cited
that.
this once.
Yeah.
right,
It's already-
exactly.
It's already been cited once.
From
For
the,
all
from
we
the
know,
Department of
The
Justice,
DOJ
yeah,
may ramp it up
yeah,
for all we know, which
Absolutely.
wouldn't,
But I'm with Don on this one because it goes back to I want to tread lightly and get a good name out there started. Hey, they came after you. We're just sending you the letter.
yeah.
But wait a
Because I
minute.
had to do that when I put the rocks down. I know this gentleman, they're good people.
Mm.
They, they weren't the intent of ruining property. It was a view of, it's only property.
Sure.
I'm not doing anything,
Yeah.
so.
But if we emphasize, we're just following the rules and regulations that went with the purchase of this land.
Correct.
So,
I'm wondering if we don't wanna step up our presence along that boundary.
That was gonna be my
Instead of going once a year, just
spring and fall.
showing our face there,
Spring and fall.
yeah, a couple times a year would be, she even mentions that, check the boundaries periodically, but
Yeah,
I think she means more than just once a year.
yeah.
So is a letter gonna be crafted, not just to this one, but to all the abutters?
Yes, should be.
And where is that letter gonna come from, the chair, or from Christina? Or from-
Christina,
Well, I could easily do it, and I could craft it and then have you guys
Have us
approve
do
it
that,
next week.
yeah.
Now, one thing I will say, I don't know who this is, but they have zoning violation issues. This is a zoning violation. So I can easily, That
we
means
don't wanna
I'm
go nuts
We don't
now.
wanna go nuts.
but it's, look at,
Tread lightly.
I know. Let's
so
do-
fine, I will
let's-
not go, then I don't, I can choose I'm not supposed to, if I see it, because that's kinda unfair, it's biased, because I go after people all the time for this once I know. But that's fine, I'll drop it, but I can
We're
grab
not
a
asking
letter.
Her
you to
office
drop
could
it.
go after it without
Yeah,
naming us.
Well, a letter to these folks could also include that there are setbacks that
There's
need to
setback
be-
regulation,
Yeah, and
obviously.
you may, yeah, and
Everyone
I
knows.
may,
Yeah.
it may be just mentioned in the letter.
Yeah.
You should be very careful.
in the letter,
I think-
you need to
A
include
friendly reminder.
the person that, it was not us that made these
Right,
recommendations.
it's
It
the,
was
it's
State.
the
Catherine.
state, yes.
Yeah,
And I
Catherine.
won't mention her
Conservation
name
steward.
specifically, but.
Yeah.
So I would suggest within that letter, we say that we are doing this as well as the town, but held chip money, bought the
Yeah.
property. And within a report that we found, some of the residents, and I don't know how you would word it, but you follow me, were in some violations of zoning or, so
Yeah,
if you think you are, come in
And talk with us.
and talk with us.
Yeah.
Or we'll send a letter to the known or questionable violations to the individuals.
And I don't have to, I can let it go, I mean, like I said.
no, we're not asking you to let it
No, I
go.
think.
Right,
we gotta
I
do it.
just, like, I should, but so,
I don't wanna give out too much information.
should I just, so I'll draft a letter for next month, and then you guys can approve it.
Sounds good.
And I can either put my name on the bottom of it, or you could
Should
put
come
your
from
name.
Conservation.
Should go.
Yeah, that, it should be covered, then I'll just state it as abutters to an L-chip property.
Yes.
You
Correct.
might wanna be aware of these things and keep them in mind. We wouldn't want anyone to, like Don said to that other people, before you overstep and you have fines associated with it, not that I would write this, but here's what's going out since knowledge, to give you more knowledge about being an abutter to an L-chip property.
Yeah, you
Keep
might
these
wanna
in
just
mind.
Also include the fact that we have to do a regular
We will-
inventory
And
of
regular,
those lands.
yeah, checking
Yeah.
of the lands.
And
We're
we found that.
obligated.
But you want to,
Obligated.
you might want to say you want to
That's my
protect,
point.
you know, the stone walls, the
Well, they shouldn't be
landscape.
touching it's private it really,
Yeah.
it's like, pretend you have a neighbor that lives there. Just pretend
Right.
you have to pretend someone lives there. And you don't go moving your neighbor's stone walls and drive ATVs all over it.
That's not their
Well,
property.
and I don't know whether that's your department or not, but you can't move a stone wall that's a boundary.
Right.
Absolutely not, that's
That's
illegal.
So
Yeah.
that's a boundary that was.
That isn't
we're talking
me. I
about
think
a stone
that's-
wall.
Okay, if we
I
could
just-
move to the Johnson property,
Okay, that was even a boundary, okay.
try to keep it going, guys.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
right, gotcha.
Okay, I didn't see, she made some recommendations. Most of it was that we should be checking and perform maintenance as necessary. So it was pretty benign. Process there.
Yeah, all the other ones are basic
Yeah.
recommendations.
Yeah.
I think we're in good shape,
Yeah.
other than the Borden property.
And then we had the Yeoman's property. Same thing. Pretty benign.
Just a long,
Did you end up walking there? Or just
I
driving?
drove the front.
I drove there with her and kind of pointed out the highlights that I could
Yeah,
from the
drive
road,
by.
Yeah.
Satterley Road, and she did, because we weren't sure of where the corner marker is on Hurd Road, she did send these pictures. I don't know, Kenny, if you've ever seen those? Apparently, there's a subterranean in.
That's Cliff. Huh. I'll have to
Cliff
ask
couldn't
him.
find him the last time we were out. so-
Yeah, we did look.
She did, Charlotte did superimpose an arrow
Ah.
on that where she thinks, based on these pictures and the
Yeah,
information.
he wasn't sure, but I thought he had a good idea.
Yeah.
Do we have more properties to inventory?
Let's see, what do we have here? I think you've got them covered.
We got them?
Do you have the Johnson? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, then you have them, if you have the Wells,
And
But-
Yeomans,
and
yeah.
yep, you've got it covered, and I can, have these been forwarded yet to,
No, that
Charlotte?
was gonna be one of my questions is, because she did send out an email.
I know, and I haven't answered her yet, cause I knew about these tonight.
So my question was gonna be who was gonna fill out that form for her? And then there's the two that need to go to the Society for the Protection of New Hampshire Forest for Wells and Yeomans. And when we spoke to, I don't know if we did that before last meeting or since, when we went to see Jerry Higginbush.
That was before the last meeting.
Before the last meeting, yeah. He did give me the name and phone number of the owner of the property that owns the Wells easement. So we can make contact. We didn't so far though.
I did like 5 years ago, so.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay,
It was
In the
actually
past,
somebody in-
I've always sent, you've always filled out all the reports, and then I've just forwarded them to Charlotte and the, New Hampshire Protective Forest. I've just done that, from what you've filled out, I've never filled any.
I think
So-
it's our responsibility.
so you received a hard copy from us?
Yes,
Okay.
always, that they would, in
They're
those,
in the red
yes,
fi-
and then
they're
I
in
would,
the red files.
Yeah,
yes,
This was,
That's,
that was sent by email to us.
ours
sure.
are similar to that, they're not.
yeah,
exactly
did
like
I might have, is that a general one for all of Newport,
Or
or is that
no,
one for each?
this is one from the state,
And it's, and from Charlotte,
yes.
and we're supposed to fill it out for each property?
This can be done online.
Okay, then we've never done that one, I've never done those like that.
So that's what I wanted to ask, is how does the commission want to handle this?
Well, like Linda he was saying about filling them out.
Yeah, each property has the red folder, and it has a form inside it.
Inside.
Well, we could do it online on this, and
Absolutely.
probably print a copy. It might be easier that way, I don't know how you guys want to do it.
Whatever's easy.
I mean, if somebody wants to fill out the hard copies.
I didn't
Just
make
putting
the
it out
trip,
there, so, huh?
I didn't make the trip, so
Sorry.
I would be probably the person least
Yeah.
able to do it.
Well, is there anybody on the commission who
I think
would
we're
want
asking
to
for a
do
volunteer.
that? I wouldn't have the
Take it
slightest
online
idea
and
about
just
I mean,
that.
am
fill
I
out some
able to
online
do it
form.
with
I
the
say do it
data?
online.
I
Can you do
can
it
do it.
online? and
I
then
think I
do it?
can, yeah.
Do it online and then
So,
Print it.
do a print.
Have you got time to do that?
I've got it,
Okay.
I've got it.
I guess you could volunteer.
Well, I'm happy to do it.
That
I
comes
don't
with
want to
that.
overstep my bounds.
That comes with a bigger paycheck.
Okay.
Fine. I'm not sure you could ever overstep.
I know, I was just
When
gonna
it comes to
say,
volunteering,
please overstep your bounds. If anyone wants to come in and help me draft letters, I would say, come on in, absolutely, you're never overstepping your
Okay.
bounds.
So we're gonna move ahead. You're gonna take care of that, Don? Right?
Yes, I will do that, yeah.
Okay.
These,
Wanna make copies?
do we want them to go on in
To
the
go in the
folder?
folders, I
for
can
the-
make of all this.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think they
These I
should.
didn't have.
Yeah, I like what was done here.
I don't know if you can see it, there's an
Excellent.
arrow on the one in your
Yeah,
left
this-
hand.
this-
I know, I don't have that.
No, in the middle, in the yellow.
If somebody had a red pen, it
Oh,
would be
right
worthwhile.
here,
How'd you did you just call her and get her to come up?
that's an error, oh, yeah.
Yes, yeah, I know her
I
from,
thought that was it.
I volunteer with the Nature Conservancy,
Yeah.
and she was one of their volunteer
Wow,
coordinators.
good, because this is
She's-
very
yes.
well done,
She was excellent.
very well
She,
done.
she's,
Yeah.
yeah, she's,
Good people.
Yes.
It was a good
Smart
walk,
young
it was a
lady.
really good walk, it was good to have her
Yeah, definitely
confirm
learning.
the boundaries.
it was
The
nice to
learning
have it.
experience,
Wish I
you
could
look
have
at the
been there.
markings on the trees.
Exactly.
Looking for the pins and.
Yeah,
Good,
We gotta get the right color ribbon
Yeah.
when we
Yeah.
put them up there.
okay, all right.
but the woods are beautiful
That's
out there,
yours.
by the way.
That was part of the packet.
You want me to take it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
see all these stone
All right,
walls.
thanks.
Okay, so now we're gonna move to DES violations, 628 JS8.
John Stark.
John
Highway.
Stark Highway,
Yeah.
right here. I read through it. It looks like we've already missed a deadline.
You know what I I should have done, I should have printed a map for you guys, so you can see the proximity to the river and blah, blah, blah. Do you want me to go do that? I've just made copies. And I'll highlight this more. I'll like do
Okay.
it in like, so you can see
Yep.
it. Does anyone want it, a
Okay,
visual?
so can you add, this came about as a result
Yeah,
of
that's in
somebody
here.
complaining.
I did.
You're the one that complained.
I got, a resident called me. So
That,
a
well,
resident-
somebody resident called you.
And they
yeah?
said, well, and I said, you can file, or I'll file if you wish. And they asked me to file.
So there are a variety of things that have got to be apparently taken care of. Who owns the property?
Something LLC.
Yeah.
Well, it's on here.
209
Is-
Broad Street, Claremont LLC.
Yeah, Michael, it does own it. Michael,
First.
yes. He's,
Has he received this letter?
yes.
Oh, I see, it's at the top.
from
Yeah,
the-
it was sent to him, yeah,
That was part of the package.
all right.
Has he responded? Or who does he respond
Um,
to?
In the back.
I know that he's spoken to, and I don't necessarily know why, but Alan Chase has a good relationship with him, and I know he's spoken to Alan about it.
So, okay, so this is written to him, and so it's his responsibility to immediately install and maintain temporary erosion and
Part of this
sediment
whole
control,
package here.
right?
That's what they-
Absolutely. And
That's what
it-
they're supposed to do,
Yeah.
if they,
But we need to find out if he's done it. By November 17th, please retain a certified wetland specialist, please notify. Is that Robert Scott, the guy that lives here? Commissioner?
I don't imagine it is.
By January 17th, 2023, a restoration plan, variety of things, and this becomes his responsibility. But is it our responsibility to check to see if he's done it?
Well, you know what's interesting about this? Because I was thinking, I could ask him to come in, but I think he could refuse. I think he would refuse personally.
What is that jurisdictional is?
Well, it's interesting. Normally, people just come in voluntarily, especially while this is an interesting thing because it is a business. But I never see anything. I think he's just I could just see him refusing to come in, where most people want to get their permit because he's not getting anything from. Most people, they come in because they have to get their permitting. They have to go through me.
Did this
I think it-
individual get a permit to do what?
no.
No.
So-
There's no
No.
permitting for like you're allowed
Okay.
to make.
Yeah,
Now,
so
of course,
he just went ahead on his own property,
Yes.
did
Well,
stuff
he
that turned
spoke
out
to
have
Christina.
been- Pardon me?
He spoke to your
I
office.
have never spoken to him.
I thought you said originally it'd come in.
The two women came in, and I don't know their names, and they asked, are there wetlands on the property? And I said, and I printed out the maps, no, on your property, there are no New Hampshire protected wetlands.
But-
I said, however, you should double check with DES, and I read this, I still don't think they have. I think they're talking about the
Well, they said they-
violation of the silt and everything.
They're talking
No, they
about,
said-
there are regulations for what you can do near a river.
Right,
Right.
And this is what I
Right.
took from the letter is the violation is what they did near the river.
near the river and what it
Development
could
of
have,
shoreland
And
within
that's-
250 feet of the state's public waters.
right.
And
I
that's on DES, not us.
yes.
Right, we don't have to do anything
We
as
don't
far
have
as
to
I
do
know.
I
anything.
think that's,
No.
I'm just
I
aware
think
of
it was
it.
your question is, I believe it's in DES's hands, but I
Yeah.
think we should follow it.
Well, I would too. I think we
Absolutely.
should be
Now,
aware
again,
of
this is
it.
still private property, and as far as, I never go on anyone's private property.
Well,
I don't have any right to.
No, but
No,
apparently
not telling
somebody
you.
came forward asking questions, and the answer was strictly about wetlands, but there was no consideration about what they were doing near the river.
Absolutely. I
Where
just
is
said you should double
right
check.
on the
Kellyville
corner.
Bridge. Kellyville Bridge,
Kellyville Bridge.
the little
Yeah,
blue house
It's
on
right on
the,
the corner.
where they're
Right-
putting a foundation under it and all that right
Do you know where
now.
Bert lives?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's between him,
His
his house,
driveway.
and
I've
the,
actually been to his house.
John Stark Highway.
The geese chased me away.
I think
So
if you go to
anyways.
that one-stop wetlands permit query, you might be able to find out the
Yeah.
status of this.
Yeah.
And put money on it.
All right, so this is just for us to be aware of at
Yes.
this point.
Yeah, and
And
obviously.
let the agencies that are,
Well, and you can draw, I can usually look at a lot of properties without being on the property. I do it all the time. I'm actually in court for one right now, and I've never.
We see the problems.
So you, right, so you
Yeah.
could go and view it yourself. I just personally wouldn't go
I don't wanna get
on.
involved with it.
You know what, right?
Okay.
So I think it'll be.
Unless we
handled.
have to,
Right.
you know,
No.
I mean, this is
I do
gonna,
think also, though, that the learning point from this is we have to also be mindful of any projects near
I agree.
the river.
Shoreland,
Yeah,
Sure.
that-
Yeah.
yeah.
Shorelands,
Yeah.
not only wetlands.
which we already were aware of.
Yeah.
Yes.
We went to one,
Yeah. I
one
think-
property already,
Right.
Gunter, myself, and
Yeah.
Kenny, and looked at that, 250-foot setback and
The-
protection area.
Because of the river.
That wasn't this property, that was
No.
a different
No.
property.
So at this point, we go back to the, not Johnson property, the Pinnacle. We're gonna, there's a letter, you're gonna craft a
Open
letter,
violation?
That was on the Barton property.
Yeah.
Barton, Pinnacle, yeah.
Basement.
Is it Bartlett?
Barton.
Barton. Yes, I'm gonna draft a letter, and it might take me a little bit, because I wanna get all what you wanted in there.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna bring it
Yes.
next, for you guys to
Next
rip it
meeting.
apart,
This was
and then I'll
the
redo it.
Okay, good.
And
Then
in the
with the
meantime,
violation.
I will,
That was at the Kellyville
I
Bridge.
will look up all the abutters.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
sure,
excellent,
I
thank
can
you.
easily,
That's excellent.
and then I'm gonna write
Development
a,
that
hopefully as legal as I could get
building
advice
a house.
from
had been
Paul,
marked.
and I'm gonna write the warrant article for the NRI without, we could put in I could put in just a zero, just the empty
Zero.
dollar value.
To be,
And then you guys will bring that too.
yeah,
And then and I'll bring it thinking that, Paul, do you think this is legal? I think it's legal. And then obviously you
It's gotta
guys
be-
look at, yes, and then it'll go to the lawyers.
okay.
I'll do those
So
two main,
that's good. I just trying to check to make sure we're just not talking and not really getting anything.
and I'm also gonna pull up NRIs from Fitzwilliam and
Yeah.
possibly Sunapee and try to get some baseline
Now-
ideas.
But that's our homework too.
Yes, it's
Yes,
all of
if you
us.
could.
Can we request that who would put up, not no trespassing, but I don't know how we wanna say it, a sign that would let.
You do want no trespass, or is,
No, we can't do no trespassing.
people are allowed to walk on the properties, right?
Yeah.
We want them.
They're public
Oh, so you
property.
don't want no
They're
trespassing.
public property, and that's the thing.
Oh,
There's
so, right.
some things they can do, some things
Walking
they
is one
can't.
thing.
so, yeah.
Driving ATVs and
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to
Or
look at
making
it.
your own trails, you know.
that's kind of
right.
inappropriate, right?
Yeah.
Because he had said there that there was some verbiage in that purchase.
It said it was to
that
be left in
said
its
it was-
natural
yeah.
state.
So
Okay,
there's some,
okay, so that's enough.
there's some verbiage in that property
Yeah.
I don't think,
purchase
Indeed.
that.
I don't think there's any, to answer your question, I don't think there's anybody employed that would do some posting.
Okay.
So I would assume that, like in our spring or fall,
We'll go out and,
when we go out to do tags, we include that on those.
yeah. We can have a sign made up.
Now,
Yeah.
We got
My-
money.
my opinion would be, even though it's on the Barton property, the parking area at the base of Summer Street
Summer Street,
before
yeah.
the tower by the gate,
Yeah.
that highway should put up some no dumping signs there. That it should also come from the town that we don't want you dump, we don't want you dumping there.
So,
After they install their no dumping signs, when we come up with our little sign, we put that underneath it as well.
is there an ordinance against dumping?
Yeah.
And that can be
On the
cited on a no
side.
dumping sign?
Well, you
Well,
can't
that's
count,
How,
that's
that's
right.
why I
Did you
suggest
talk to,
highway, because they have to.
But where did he
provide-
want it? What property was this that he wanted the no dumping signs?
At
Mark.
the end of Summer
Summer
Street.
Street.
Oh, yes,
at
up
the-
by, okay.
yeah, At the base of that class
At
6.
the
I mean,
front.
it's kind of stupid. It's like a no littering sign. Everyone knows you're not supposed to litter, but there are signs to remind people, right? Don't litter. Right, Summer. Okay.
Everybody
We
does
want
it.
no dumping.
No dumping. I agree.
Yeah.
And it's,
Okay?
I
like that.
will call Public Works and see if we could get some sign. I
Todd,
would-
right? Todd?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right,
No dumping. in
yearly
those.
budget, general fund. I did speak to Paul, and I actually told him that we wanted 1,500 on a line. And the purpose of that would be to pay for any dues, because they're taking the dues now out of the other money, and they're not supposed to. So dues, any conferences to be attended.
Signage.
Signage, plus any equipment we may want to begin to buy.
That's cool.
It was
Flyers.
as a
And
capital
he
reserve.
agreed that that would go.
So I
Oh,
wonder if
that's
you,
excellent.
Barry, I wonder if we said, let's just take you 1,500, and you did $500, so you did classes, capital reserve for equipment,
Hmm.
and
Conferences.
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 Yeah, so break it into.
Yeah, I think the more, I
Publications.
like the
Well,
fact
you
that
know,
we're
don't
sending
you
people
want-
to conferences, we're
Yeah.
doing things, and we might, purchase of a sign, and, even if we just buy a sledgehammer, or
Yeah.
something that the
Aluminum nails.
conservation, yeah, that's right, can have.
Wooden nails.
We
We'll
can get it
store
from
in
Gunter, he's
Christina's
got about a
office.
million of them.
And,
They can. Well, I also think you
I
would
just
leave
think
it,
it goes back to any budget, and after working with a budget here, there are line items for each
Right.
thing. So when you guys go to look at it,
Yeah, we know.
you're
it.
saying, well, what is this? What is that? It's, well, I'm taking that out of here. Okay,
Yeah,
because you
we'll-
can't take it
I'll-
out of
I'll
here.
be very watchful of how that goes through.
I think,
Somehow they get cut, but we don't need
But
that.
again, I think it goes back to my earlier comment that structure.
Yeah.
We're showing a good
Yeah.
structure, so that we're not
I
just
will-
saying,
I will put
We're
down
just
some
winging it.
we're
numbers
just
for
winging
Paul
it,
and
we're
let
giving
her
them
1,500.
$1,500 to
well,
wing?
it's,
Yeah.
it also gets voted on by the BOS. Paul doesn't decide what stays in and goes out. BOS does.
We should-
So you would do a spiel at BOS. And I also think that, like, you guys could have, especially on these sites, we could have pamphlets or flyers or, there's some kind of signage for marking of things, where those could come out of this money. Or us doing studies on the invasive species, or
Right.
any remainder, you should say should roll over to buffer our NRI.
Good.
Because we
Because
I
we're
can- I can
always
work with
using
Paul
it.
on that.
Right.
We talked about putting that in the kiosks, right?
Kiosk,
In the
Right.
pocket and the
Yeah.
kiosks about us
Yeah.
and
Right.
what we do, and this
Yeah.
is part of the property. So that's the informational that,
Yeah, excellent.
but yeah, that could
But
come
we'd
out
have
of office
printing
supplies or
services
whatever.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I just think that there would be
$300 for
hundreds of things you could do with the $1,500 a year.
Yeah, good. All right,
Go to the pub.
there's nothing under administration.
No, I don't know. Maybe next month. I don't know.
So, our next board meeting is December 14th. We have a thing that we're all gonna work on to bring.
It is a little early. I have it posted everywhere that it's a date change. I already have posted the date change,
Oh, good.
public
Thank you.
notice. And it is, keep in mind, it is a week early. We're supposed to meet on the 21st, I believe.
Okay, so you're gonna get a notice out there.
It's it's been out for like 2 months.
It's on
but
the
you-
web, the city's.
Oh, it's on the website?
Town's
It's,
website, yeah.
yes,
Good.
it'll-
Yeah, sorry.
All right, I take a motion. Well, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I- I-
Anything
I- I-
further
things.
before we leave?
Okay,
Go ahead.
Don,
Go.
okay. I'll reach out to PJ,
Be nice.
again and see
Yeah.
if he's,
Good.
if that, he wants to get on our agenda.
Yeah.
The other thing is the Newport Times came out,
Yes.
and probably by the time we meet next, they'll be deadlining for submissions for the January. So I'd be willing to write up something to get into the Newport Times.
Excellent.
Maybe start with just some of the pictures and what we did on the site visits.
Good.
Talk
I like
about the
that.
properties.
That's very good.
So I
yeah.
took pictures that day. If you want me to send them to you, give me your email.
Yeah, any other pictures and we'll, we'll send them
I'll
along.
send them to you as well, but
Because they said that, the one time I submitted an article,
Yeah,
they said that pictures are very important.
yeah.
You don't want to just put
They
in
do a great job.
language.
they're really
So-
nice.
They did need a certain, I don't know what,
size. So, yeah.
what do they call it,
Format.
resolution?
Yeah.
Format?
Formatting
Yeah.
of the pictures,
Yeah.
yeah, that's,
They send it in the smallest font, so it
Is,
pixels or
is
whatever.
that very technical that you have to do on your end, or is it
No,
as simple as
just how
just
you-
send them the pictures
I
and
don't-
they'll
That's how you
tell
send them
if they're-
out.
They can maybe
Yeah.
get
if they can use them.
Because
or
we
not.
sent them a picture for that article, and
Yeah.
she bumped it back and said, do you have anything else?
Which article was that? Did you write?
I submitted an article about the commission back in, I don't know, when was that, last
year.
summer? Yeah, last
Sometime-
year.
Time-
I missed that
Yeah.
part. That must have been one of the.
I don't
first
think you were
issues.
here, Larry, on the board yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I know one website where I have to send pictures and they send you to another site to have them reformatted for some reason, and I don't know exactly what it is.
So do you have the editor's contact information I sent you?
For the Newport Times,
Yeah,
well, if I have your email, I'll
okay.
grab it.
If you don't, let me know, okay?
Some of it, I think somewhere in the Times, they
Her name is
Yeah.
listed.
talk about
Yeah,
submissions.
Wait.
Okay,
contacting her ahead of time might be of value, so,
all right,
Jennifer
Right.
McMillan?
yeah,
all right.
yeah. So, and did everybody see Gunter's picture and my picture? in
Yes, we
the
did.
Facebook?
Yes.
Where?
You didn't see it?
I don't
On
give
In
a-
what?
On Newport Facebook?
Well, as representatives
No.
of the Conservation
They
Commission.
were putting up
Allison.
things, yeah.
When was
Yeah.
that?
Oh, wow.
Well, we volunteered to put up the maps that PJ had
Oh,
made
oh,
at
yeah.
the
At
kiosks.
the kiosk.
So Gunter drilled the
Yeah.
holes in the plexiglass and got all the hardware together. And he and I
Break
put
any?
them
So
up.
we put them up, yeah.
And the new econ director came and took pictures while we were doing it.
Oh, good.
So it was good PR,
Good, yes.
good public relations.
I did see that. Yeah.
Did you crack the
I'll have to
plexi?
go on
Plexi?
Facebook. I
Pardon?
don't go on Facebook. I avoid
Crack
it.
the
Yeah.
I
He
just
followed
took it,
your
I let
recommendation.
my drill do
Yeah.
it very slowly on its own, and just the weight of the
Yeah.
drill
Yeah.
just pushed its way
Right.
through.
It's creepy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd move for, oh, of course, go
Sorry,
right ahead.
sorry, don't mean to hold you
No,
up.
I got,
I have a couple questions. As in the minutes from last month, a couple of things were noted as being done or going to be done. I'm just trying to find out if they were done, and if not, how they're gonna get done. As far as Ben Nelson, or not Ben, geez, Sam Nelson is concerned, we noted in the minutes, because his program has been using land overseen by the Conservation Commission, a copy of the Barton property conservation easement will be sent to him. Has that been done?
Yes, I sent Ben,
Sam.
no,
Sam. Sam.
Sam.
Yeah.
I sent Sam I was supposed to, I sent him the forestry,
Well, that was on here too.
Management plan.
yes.
Yeah, but
Okay, so I missed, what was else was I supposed to send, Ben? And I did
Copy-
send that.
It will state, a copy of the Barton property conservation easement will be sent to him.
I did not do that. I sent the forestry management plan, and I sent that right out. So that so Ben I need to add to send Ben the Barton.
Property conservation easement.
The
Right.
management plans are digital now? You have those digitally?
I might. I'm not sure. Oh, the management plan?
Yeah.
No, I made a hard copy. I
Oh,
literally
wow.
made him a book. I know
Holy
it's
shit.
big, and I
Yeah.
mailed it.
Wow, good for
Good.
you.
Okay,
Anything
you.
else?
couple more,
Thank you.
sorry.
No,
It
that's
wouldn't have
fine.
sent it. Would
I
be
just,
too
I
big.
just hate to see things stated that we're gonna do them
I
and
like
they,
Yeah.
Oh,
and they
absolutely,
fall
yeah.
off.
And then what else was there? Something else that I maybe did?
Not as far as Sam is concerned.
Oh, good.
Because you said you sent them a copy of the town forest management.
Absolutely, I did that right
Okay.
away. I apologize. I didn't realize it was the Barton thing too.
Okay. It was also noted that the mission statement was approved. The modified
Yes.
mission statement was approved as written, and to have it posted on the Town Conservation Commission webpage.
It is.
That we voted on that. Was the
It is.
mission statement?
Yes, I
Excellent.
added the mission statement is with the rules and procedures.
Is it
Is it little-
written on the webpage, or is it just in a,
It's in an icon. So there's an icon where it says rules of procedure / mission statement. And you click on that if you want to know the rules of procedure and the mission statement.
okay.
Now, I will say, when you pull up the page, it would maybe be nice to have our mission statement just written.
That was my
Yes.
hope.
But I
Right.
don't know how to do that. So I could add, I don't know how to do that. So I try to do what I know how to get it. So I got it right up there. So it's all posted, but I know it would be kind of nice to have like some flower, some trees, and have our mission statement. I don't know how to do that. So I could try to figure that out.
Joanne
Who will
used
know
to-
is Joanne.
Joanne used to
I don't,
write them up, so.
yeah, but it isn't an icon to the left, it's.
I did see that, right.
But I know, I
You
kind of
want-
agree,
you
it'd be
want it to
nice to
come up
just
with
have our
a
mission statement.
headline.
Yeah, it'd be nice to be, for that thing to be the first,
Just up
Thing
there,
on it,
just
yeah,
up there, our mission,
absolutely.
right, okay.
that way, because
Let me try. I didn't do that, for
Okay.
sure. Was there anything else? Cause I did go through the to-do list. I
That's
thought
enough.
I
That's-
did
that's
well.
enough for one
But,
day.
yeah, I
You are
did go through.
yeah, no, I've got other things highlighted, but we covered those.
Okay.
Land
I
conservation,
already missed Jeopardy, so forget, just keep going.
Keep
Land
going.
Conservation District Stewardship Program. I don't think we want to talk about that tonight, but I don't want to lose sight of that. How do we keep that?
You keep bringing it up.
Where, oh, the stewardship, where is that in here?
It's on the second page.
Yeah.
1, 2,
Oh, after
three.
the agenda was tabled for a future
Yeah.
meeting. Land Conservation District Stewardship Program. That, we can find out information online about that?
That goes back to those conservation properties that are protected by a town ordinance. And we discussed them and just, I think we kind of agreed that we should be monitoring them. And talking about possibly some invasive species control.
Control.
Yeah,
Okay.
So it, just like that, what I meant was, if we see an agenda coming up light, that's a good time to throw that out
Right.
for the next agenda
okay,
of, because that'd be a good discussion.
sounds good.
Now
Anything
I,
else?
I did come across a grant opportunity, and it was like a no-brainer when I saw it. It has to do with the moose plates. I don't know if everybody's aware, but we would be a shoo-in for grants from the, as a matter of fact, I think our NRI,
The town already gets that money.
but we couldn't get a grant from them.
yeah,
They
you
have a
could.
grant.
We couldn't apply.
No, I've applied for a moose grant. Matter of fact, we've applied for lots of moose grants. The trim on the courthouse was all paid for by a moose grant. I applied for a moose grant for something, and I forget what it was for. But yes, you could apply for it, so we could apply for a specific moose grant.
I think if we could give everybody a copy of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a display, I think.
Yeah, so do
You
I.
have to apply though to get the money brought back to you.
When I saw that, I thought, that's a
Is that the
no-brainer
CH
for,
on it or something?
But the
Oh, yeah, look
Conservation
at that,
Commission could
conservation.
apply for that
Absolutely,
grant.
I don't.
I think
Doesn't have
so.
to go through the town.
I don't,
She's coming from the
I know
town.
you do it. I know.
yeah, I don't know if,
Yeah.
Reference.
So that's
because if we get a grant,
So that's a
Next year's
question.
does the Board of Selectmen have to approve receipt of that grant?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Well,
Don't have to
if
go
that,
dredge up
it'll
that
go
email.
through it. I'll tell you, there's gonna be a discussion. Because the town right now receives all of the money
That we can get.
that, from the moose thing.
Oh, people
They don't
want to
share it?
Yeah.
We've
And you don't
drained the
share
moose.
it?
They don't share
We've
it.
drained the moose. That's,
I know.
They
right?
don't share it.
No more moose juice. It's all drained.
But I
But I like where
let's
you're
try
going.
it. Let's try it.
Yeah, I like where he's going.
Well, I mean, it seems like we'd be a shoo-in for it.
Well, if they're paying
Christina's
for
making-
trim on a building, we should be able to get.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean,
It's how you write it. That's why you need a good grant
Yeah.
writer.
some things,
Anyway,
Anyway, I'm done. Sorry for,
No,
Yeah,
that was good.
everybody's time.
Very good.
no, thank you. Make a motion.
Okay, I take a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
You've been wanting to say
Larry,
that since.
you gonna second it?
second it.
I'll
All
second
right,
it. I'll
there we go.
first it.
All in favor?
All those in favor?